Hey Stoners, welcome to another edition of Sticks-n-Stonez. I'm your host, Britt Elrod, coming to you from the windy yet lovely confines of the patio here at the No Shoes Bar and Grill, deep in the heart of the Republic of Texas. I've got a great pairing for you today. I am going to be pairing the Aganorsa Rare Leaf Reserve in Titan 6x60 with Michters Single Barrel Straight Rye. I think it's going to be a great matchup, so let's go ahead, pop the cork, cut the stick, and get to toasting. Now this Rare Leaf Reserve is the Titan. It is 6x60 on the ring gauge. Visually, it is a beautiful medium brown. The seams are invisible. There is very minimal veining, maybe a hint of tooth on the stick, and it has a triple cap. Now the filler and binder on this stick are both a blend of Criollo 98 and 99, while the wrapper is a Cafe Jalapa. Now on the nose, I get hay, kind of a barn or stables aroma. A little leather, and there's just a touch of mustiness. Now let's give it a cut, test out the cold draw. Now on the cold draw, I get aged tobacco, maybe a little bit of leather, some cedar, and there's a sweetness, but it's not just a normal sweetness, it's sort of kind of a raisiny sweetness. And the cold draw is very, very easy on this stick. Now, Michters was originally founded in 1753 as Shanks by John Shank in Shaferstown, Pennsylvania. And it was operating up until about 1989 when it had to close and file bankruptcy. It opened a little later in the 1990s as Michters and has been going strong ever since. And as you can tell, I'm fairly familiar with this product. Now this is a single barrel. It is a non-age statement. It is 42% alcohol by volume, so 84 proof. And it has a mash bill of 51% rye, with the remainder being made up of corn and malted barley. Now visually, if you're watching video, you can tell this has a beautiful, beautiful caramel color to it. It's really beautiful in the glass, catches the light well, and it does have really great legs. It's got a lot of cling to the glass. Now on the nose, I pick up oak and citrus, some vanilla. There is a little bit of spice to it, which is courtesy of the rye. And there's also some hints of dark fruit in the background, something like plums. Wonderful aroma. Now on the palate, right away you get the spice and the rye up front, but I do pick up some citrus, a little bit of butterscotch, some hints of vanilla, and some oak kind of tying it all together. It's a really great rye. It's one of my favorites. I'm not a huge rye fan, but I do have several bottles. And this or the Jack Daniel's single barrel rye are top of the heap for me. Let's go ahead and toast up our stick and try these together. If you're watching video, you can see that there's a tremendous volume of smoke coming off this stick right at the light. What I notice immediately is a big zing of black pepper, but then it dies down quickly. And then kind of coming forward is cedar, a little earth, aged tobacco, and there is just a hint of sweetness to it. My first time ever trying one of the Aganorsas, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And so far, it's a great stick. Let's try them together. Those do marry together very, very well. You've got the spice from the rye that kind of marries up with the spice, the pepper in the stick. But then you also have the citrus and the vanilla and kind of the dark fruitiness that kind of comes in and tamps the spice down just a little bit and gets a very good blend of sweet and spicy. These two are going very, very well together. I think I'm going to enjoy this afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and burn this down to the halfway mark, and I will come back and give you an update. Hey Stoners, I am back. We are just about the halfway mark, and this is a very, very good pairing. At the halfway mark, I'm picking up still some tobacco. There's still some black pepper, though it has mellowed out. It's not quite as zingy as it was in the beginning, and then there's also some cedar and now some nuts mixed in with all of that, and it's going very well with the Michters single barrel straight rye. I do believe that the spiciness in the rye and the spiciness in the stick are really melding together very well. And does make this an excellent pairing. So I'm going to go ahead and burn this down the rest of the way, and I'll come back and give you my final thoughts. My political commentary for today's episode has to do with the largest tax increase on the American people, and not just the American people, but the global population, and that is inflation. Basically, inflation is where you're not able to buy as much with the same amount of money this year as last year. As you know, it's been well reported in part of the media that we have inflation rates that are at 40-year highs. Haven't been seen since back in the Carter administration. And Milton Friedman, one of the people I love to listen to, God rest his soul, He was a professor and economist, and he called inflation one of the largest transfers of wealth that ever exists. And he's really the one that explained to me how inflation is such a tax increase. And basically, how does the government spend money? They don't produce any goods or services. Where does their money come from? Well, it comes from the taxpayer directly in the form of taxes. But if they're spending more than they're taking in, like we've been doing ever since Andrew Jackson, they print it. Well, every time you print another dollar, it causes the value of all of those dollars to go down, because we're no longer on the gold standard or the silver standard. There's nothing backing up those dollars other than the federal government's word that it's worth something. So the more money they spend, the less your money is worth. And basically that's transferring that value to them to then spend on bullshit that we don't need. All of these programs that we don't need, all of the funding, all of the countries that hate us, and giving them money and paying these god-awful United Nations dues for an organization that isn't worth a damn, seriously. And then NATO. We stay current on our dues at NATO. Germany doesn't. Germany years behind. We do. And the American people have to pay for that, either directly in taxes or indirectly in the value of their money going down because the government's printing more so they can ship it to somebody else. It doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican. Spending money is spending money. And Washington has a spending problem. They don't have a revenue problem. Every time they think revenue goes up, that's 2 or 3 times more than that they need to be able to spend. And it's ridiculous. It's not a spending problem. It's not an inflow problem. It's an outflow problem. We've got to have people in Washington that actually have our best interest at heart. And we don't. I think Mitch McConnell is one of the biggest scoundrels in Washington. He's a Republican. I think he is nothing more than a Republican Chuck Schumer. And he is. I'm a libertarian. I will bash both parties equally when they deserve it. And in this particular situation, they deserve it. Andrew Jackson was a Democrat, was the last president to have this country debt-free. Democrats always ballyhoo about Bill Clinton, and they have over time come to say that he reduced the national debt. Well, that's sort of true. He managed to balance the budget to make inflows and outflows equal. And he actually, I believe, 1 year managed to reduce the amount of the deficit. But he was in office for 8 years. And most of that time he had Republican Congress that he had to deal with. Both parties' problems. The two-party system is tearing this country apart. We've got to have people that are willing to stand up. And the ones that are willing to stand up, the few, they may not stand up all the time, but they can only do so much because they're outnumbered. Most of these people go to Washington and they leave millionaires. Nancy Pelosi, she's worth $250 million on a salary of $250,000 a year, or less than $250,000 a year. Bill and Hillary Clinton. Hillary said herself in an interview with Diane Sawyer right after they left the White House, when we left the White House, we were dead broke. We were worth less than $1 million. That was in 2000. Now, They're worth nearly $200 million. Bill had his bar license suspended for years. He couldn't practice law. All he could do was give speeches. And she was a senator and secretary of state, making about $200,000 a year. So how in the world did they go from being dead broke to being worth $200 million in 20 years? Damn, I wish I had that kind of investment program. They always manage to get away with it because they're policing themselves, and they're not going to do anything that's going to screw up their money train. And that is at our expense. We have got to have better representatives. That's my take for today. Hey, Stoners. I am back. We are almost down to the band, and our glass is empty. This was a really great pairing. Of course, as I said in the beginning, I'm pretty familiar with Michters single barrel straight rye, and it held up marvelously with the spiciness of the rare leaf in the Aganorsa. The only complaint I had about the stick was at about the halfway mark. It kind of started busting open just a little on the bottom side, and as I pushed right in that area, I could feel a little clump of stems right there. That's really the only point where it did not perform pretty much flawlessly. Now it was a wavy burn all the way down, but nothing terrible. And I mentioned in the beginning that I thought it had a little hint of tooth in it, and in the last half I noticed several times little oily spots showing up on the outside of the cigar. It was an excellent smoke. My first time having one of this brand, and I think they are everything that they have been billed to be. The Michters, as I said, married very well the spiciness that went together. There was just a hair touch of sweetness which stayed throughout the cigar all the way through, and that married very well with some of the citrus and vanilla from the Michters. In the final, the pepper, we had that original zing of pepper in the beginning. Well, it kind of ramped back up toward the end of the stick, and the sweetness also increased just a little bit. And then we had some notes of earth and cedar come in. Really can't say enough good things about this pairing. I would give the Aganorsa rare leaf, I would give it a 90 matchsticks because of the stems and the splitting open just a little bit as far as palate, smoke output, just enjoying factor. It was a really good smoke. I would give the Michters, I would give them about a 90. I love Michters products, and their rye, as I mentioned in the beginning, is one of my top 2 ryes. Rye's making a comeback, according to the Whiskey Advocate. So, pick up some rye. You definitely need to try these 2 out. You will definitely enjoy them. That is all I have for you today. I have really enjoyed this pairing and enjoyed getting to spend some time with you. Be sure to hit like, subscribe, share, notify, ring all the bells and blow all the whistles, all that kind of thing, so that all of the different social media channels know that you're watching me. Be sure to stop by the Sticks-n-Stonez store. Pick up some great Sticks-n-Stonez gear like this wonderful quick dry polo, and you will not be disappointed, I guarantee you. It's at my Shopify, so it's Sticks-n-Stonez, STONEZ, the number 1, .myshopify.com. Go by over there and pick up some Sticks-n-Stonez gear. I also have some items from Cigar Accessory their Amazon store linked there, and go ahead and go out and pick you up a lighter, cutter, single stick ashtray like I use for every single taping. I really appreciate the guys over there, and be sure to be watching for my next episode. It'll be coming up soon. But until we get to see each other again, keep your sticks dry, stones cold. Have a great day.